Hello there, Parth Sharma this side, bringing you the top 15 games played by Garry Kasparov. Do take time to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. If you are already subscribed, then press the bell icon for future notifications. And if you like my work, then do consider supporting me on Patreon and PayPal. The links are in the description because your support is my motivation, which keeps me going. So, we have looked at games 15, 14, 13 and 12. So this is my favorite game number 11, and this is a very crucial game for Garry Kasparov. He was playing against Vladimir Kramnik as white in Astana 2001, and this was a very crucial game because they last met in a match in 2000 World Chess Championship, and there Garry was not able to win even a single game for 10 games, or I should say 11 games, and it was a dreadful world championship match that Garry Kasparov had ever played. Not even that 84 match where the game went for 48 games, where the match went to 48 games, and Kasparov was trailing 5 to 3. At one point he was trailing 5 to nothing, but then he bounced back. He won 3 games, and this was the most dreadful tournament, or I should say dreadful World Chess Championship match that he played, apart from that his debut World Chess Championship match, apart from that. So this was a critical moment, I should say the critical game for Garry Kasparov to prove even himself that he can also conquer home preparations which are given to him by his opponents. And here Kasparov is white, Kramnik is black, and Kasparov opens with e4. He hesitated for a bit. He wanted to play something like English or Queen's Gambit declined. So, but he stuck to this knight f3, knight c6, and even here he wanted to play Scotch game, this d4 move, but instead he again goes for this Ruy Lopez, the Spanish opening, and Kramnik goes for the Berlin defense. So this was all deja vu for Garry Kasparov. He saw this in the championship match. He wasn't able to beat Kramnik in this. He had a tough time facing the Berlin defense, and yet again, even in 2001 in Astana, he wasn't leaving this Berlin anyway. And again, he serves the Berlin defense to Garry Kasparov. And again, instead of if he wants to avoid the endgame, he could have simply played d3 or knight c3, the 4 knights game. Maybe 4 knights game is not an ideal option, but he could have played d3. But he goes for castling. He accepts the challenge and says, come on man, and let's see what happens. Knight takes e4. So again, Kasparov has chance to avoid the endgame by playing, let's say, exchange variation and picking this pawn, or to just play rook e1 and try to go after after this queen by removing the knight, and then knight takes. So still he could have gone for that, but again he faces the challenge. d4, knight d6, bishop takes, d takes, and now d takes e5, forcing this endgame variation, or Lermet variation, so to say. And this is one of the boring, I should say boring openings, where queens are off as early as move 8. But this is what the point is. What does black want to do? He doesn't want to let white have any game, and just to liquidate the game into an endgame as quickly as he can, and which is what Kramnik does here. The main motive to neutralize everything that white has. But still there are complications. There is this 4-3 majority on the king side, and that's not all. Even this far advanced pawn in the black's territory, which can hinder some developmental issues, or I should say hinder the development, and black can face some developmental issues. On the other hand, you can see white has his king castled, And since this king has moved, it won't be able to castle ever in this game. And there is a huge challenge that black faces here. His bishops are underdeveloped. There is only this tangle of the pawns, and the question would remain that how can he be able to connect the rooks. But black already has one advantage, that he has a bishop pair which white doesn't. So that, I would say, that stores the parity. Anyway, coming to the game, knight c3, h6 stopping this bishop here, normally themes in such openings, h3 giving king some room and also restricting this knight's movement by possibly preparing g4, and then when knight goes to here, then this bishop would struggle to come out of his cage. Bishop d7, so first step in putting this king here, and ideas in this Berlin endgame is generally to play king c8 and playing b6, then king hiding on the b7 square, bishop c5, rooks are connected, one of those rooks come here, the other rook comes on d8. Maybe that is somewhat a playable strategy. Maybe Kramnik would be trying this. Well, let's see. So b3 by Kasparov, king e8. So he changes his plans, and it was quite baffling. And you cannot castle, so no point playing king e8. So should have played again b6 or king c8 and b6 to prepare this king b7 and then try to connect the rooks. Maybe that could have been a good strategy, playing bishop c5 or playing rook g8. Who knows, that would have been better. Bishop b2, rook comes to d8, rook a d1 right in front of the bishop. Knight e7, black tucks his knight back, probably trying to play knight g6 and knight f4, because this bishop has come from there to there. Rook f to e1, probably knight d4 and knight f5, or maybe g4 and then knight f5 would have been better, or just to play knight d4 and then f4. Maybe that could have been a good choice. But anyway, rook f1 isn't a bad move, is a move well worth considering. Knight g6, Kramnik continues his plan to play knight here. Knight e4, does play knight f4, and his intention was to play knight to e6, and that's why all these maneuvering from here to here to here has occurred, just to store this knight here. Probably that could have been better, but here instead of knight f4, here he should have played c5, and just to lock everything, and giving this square to this knight as well. And what does c5 do? It also initiates b5, a4, and when all the dust will settle on the queen side, this pawn can be the game changer for black. Knight f4, and this was I would say an oversight, because he didn't expect Kasparov's next move, a gambit, e6, giving up a pawn. And there isn't there isn't any easy way to deal with this, because after, let's say, if pawn takes, then this knight can simply come off here, or maybe you can play not g3 at the moment, but this knight can come off, and you might see this knight might come here, not here, but at least that can have some positional intricacies here, because this rook file would be wide open against this king, which is already struggling in the center of the board. So he plays knight takes e6, and if bishop takes e6, then knight f6 check, pawn takes, rook takes, king takes, and bishop takes f6 loses immediately. So after e6, he plays knight takes e6, and here Kasparov played knight d4 in this position, and even when I was analyzing, I thought that knight d4 was indeed the best move, and but machines somewhat refuted. When I checked it on the machine suggested this move, bishop e5, and this was a move that no one would expect for a human to play. Okay, bishop c8, then comes knight f6, king e7, knight h4. Obviously after knight f6 you won't be able to take him because we saw this variation. White would be up the exchange, so king e7, and then comes knight h4, and already there is a threat to play knight f5 checkmate. g6 defends the mate. Knight comes to d7, pretty peculiar square, attacking the rook in the corner. So first rook takes, and he gives the exchange, and after this white has good play in this position, but black has this bishop pair as I said, and the pawns, and he has one pawn for that as well, so the position could have been better. But after knight d4, Kramnik thought for about 45 minutes on this move, and when he made the move he had only 18 minutes, which meant that he has to make the next 23 moves in 18 minutes to reach the first time control, and pretty peculiar situation that was. And what move did he play? He played c5. Possibly he should have played rook h7 for that matter, and that not only would have been a better move but also would have put this rook out of this pin from this pawn. And already there are a lot of tactics in the air regarding with this f6 square, so who knows what would have had happened. Thinking for so long and playing this was pretty bizarre. So knight f5 is somewhat forced. Now he plays rook h7, and if he plays rook g8 then knight takes h6 would be crushing. The pawn won't be able to take because knight f6, and then you pick the free rook. So rook h7 is somewhat forced, so pressure was here, and not to forget the king is right in front of the rook. So whenever such things happen, then tactics do come in the air. Bishop f6, what a cool move by Kasparov. Obviously that can't be taken because knight takes f6 will be mate. So rook has to move, so rook c8. Possibly rook a8 would have been better move, rook b8 to cover up all the tactics. And the best move here in this position would have been to play f4, and after the game Kramnik said moves such as f4 are in Kasparov's style, and I was absolutely sure that he won't take on g7. The result was that I spent 45 minutes in vain. The time that he could have used it, and which could have come in useful in his subsequent calculations. Ooh, that was a big statement regarding this. So after rook c8, he doesn't play f4, and guess what? To Kramnik's surprise, he takes on g7. And really, this was a mistake, and this was a mistake according to the chess strategies. But it wasn't a mistake because it had a huge psychological effect on Kramnik. Because although he was playing well, he took the bishop, knight takes comes with check, and if you play this, then as we say, rook c8 brings the tactics. So rook has to take it. Now knight f6 check, picking this bishop off. King e7, knight takes d7, rook comes to d8, and knight comes back to e5. Rooks exchanged, and now knight f4. So basically he's trying to attack this pawn and want to take it with check. So he plays king h1, and well, if you go taking this pawn straight away, then rook here and rook will take this pawn, and there can be many tactics in this position, but the best is rook d7. And not to forget, then this knight and this rook would be freezed somewhat. So he plays rook g5, tucking that knight off. Knight comes to g4, rook d5 to exchange rooks, but Kasparov denies that. He plays rook e1, check, king comes to f8, and he picks the pawn. So at the moment, Kasparov is a pawn up and has a very good play, but still the position looks relatively equal because the king is on king side, and still there is something to be done here. And now here the best move would have been to play rook d6. The knight is attacked, and when knight comes to g4, then rook d2 would have been better to attack these pawns here. But here after knight takes h6, he plays rook d2 straight away, which isn't too bad either, but still it gives lot of opportunities to white. And now Kasparov plays rook e5, simply to play rook f5, not only attacking the knight but also having a massive threat on f7. And here the best move, there are two possibilities, or I should say three possibilities in this position. One which is the game, and rest of the two the possible ways in which the game would have continued if we had played accurately. Let's have a look at the moves like rook takes c2, rook f5, and now rook takes f2 defends the knight. And you can simply go for this capture or by the knight, that would be better. He goes knight g4 attacking the rook because the rook is defending, and then comes rook takes g2, rook takes the knight, rook takes a2, and black has 3 pawns for the piece. Knight e5, king e7, and you don't want to take it that quickly because then this would be disastrous. h4, rook d2, knight takes, rook d4, and knight e5. That would have been a little bit better because then black also has its counterplay with the c pawn. But obviously these three pawns are pretty much backward, they aren't advanced pawns, so the position could have been slightly unclear. And if this rook moves, then this pawn drops. So also if rook takes, then knight takes, that would win, but still position is somewhat pretty much unclear. Another possibility after rook e5 would be to play king g7, but then knight takes f7, rook takes c2, knight d8, king f6, rook e4, rook takes f2, king g1, rook takes g2, check, king f1, rook coming to g8, rook takes f, king e5 attacking the rook, and once rook f7, then rook takes d8, and white recovers the pawn. Probably this position would have been roughly level, and even though white has this passed pawn, it isn't going too far because there is always 3 to a majority on the queen side that can be very useful for black. Instead, here Kramnik, running very short of time, plays rook takes f2. This was a mistake because after rook f5, king g7, knight to g4, this was all seen, rook takes g2, now rook takes f4, now rook takes c2. There isn't too much liquidation at the chessboard because now there is these 2 pawns, and in rook takes c2 variation we didn't have this pawn on a2, and this makes a whole lot of difference. Rook f2 defends that pawn on a2, rook c3 going for h3 pawn, king g2 defends the pawn on h3, b5 pushing his queen side pawns, Kramnik, h4, Kasparov pushing his passed pawn also with the help of this piece, and probably a much more resilient way, or I should say the resistance that would have given was to play just king g6, but c4, I think, well, you can empathize with Kramnik because he was running really short of time and he just blown this up by playing this. And after h5, c takes, a takes, rook c5, then comes h6 check. Probably instead of rook c5, king g8 would have been a better choice. But king f8 here, knight f6, rook g5 check, and after king h1, Kramnik resigned the game. Obviously he has absolutely nothing, there is no way that he would be able to stopping this pawn. And if you play rook g6, then rook h2 is good enough to win the game. And also the pawn is a passer, or I should say the pawn is a runner. On the next turn, rook h2, you cannot do absolutely nothing. You can do absolutely nothing here in this position. And this was a really good win by Garry Kasparov, and he won his 9th successive tournament by beating Kramnik in Astana. So, as some people say, this was the fall of the wall. Well, there were some games after that which were played in Royal Lopez Berlin and game variation, but those games had some really indifferent results. Well, that was the game number 11 of the series, Garry Kasparov's top 15 games. So tomorrow I would be looking at game number 10 of the series, and I hope you liked the video. I hope you liked the analysis. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Cheers. Bye.